It'll be myself and the other assistant chiefs that'll be in here giving a very loose presentation today because we're still in the process of developing this. But we did want to get in front of you, ask Randy, first chance to get in front of City Council to let you know the direction that our police department is moving. I think it's important, or we think it's important for you guys, especially as our city leaders, to understand what we're doing at the police department every single day. And what we're trying to do is we're pushing forward. Clearly, if you look at across the nation, you need to have focus right now. You need to have a direction within your police department. If you look at our city and anything, you could spin out of control any sort of day, and our department is probably the most likely to get that with the actions that we have, the stuff that we deal with every single day. So we wanted to get in front of you to let you know where we're moving. We're only 82 days. Is that right? 82? 82 days into a new administration, really what it comes down to. I mean, once Chief, he submitted his retirement and I was inserted as interim, everybody you see behind me is new in their roles. Ken Steele will retire in about a month. So he was the last man standing. We have sort of seized the moment in this time to really take a new direction in our police department, focus on some new things, but it's beyond just the four of us. It's a holistic approach we have to our entire department to we're trying to build something that will go generation to generation to generation. And again, I apologize for how loose this will be today because it's not all worked out yet, but I do want you to know where we're going because this is what you guys need to see what we're building upon. And I think our department, I've been here 25 years. I think our department is very top notch. I think we run very, very, very well. I don't think really outside of our walls. A lot of people know that though. They just see what you see on the news, but it's much, much bigger than that, than what goes on. So we really rallied up as a group and we've agreed, especially the way in my leadership style, I'm a big collaborator. I like to get with the people that I trust. They are check and balance for me, to critical thinking type outlook on it. And so we really wanted to move in a direction to push our police department as we're looking for years down the road. It's not just 1 year, but it's 2, 3, 5, 10, 20 years down the road. So we looked at a holistic approach to our police department and where do we need to start? And the question that I asked was, if you went up took a poll of 20 of our police officers today, no matter who they are, been there 2 days or 20 years, and we asked them and pointed at them and said, hey, what's High Point Police Department built on? I don't know what the answer would be. I think they would all give you a variation of the same answer. We're a professional organization. We keep people safe. We fight crime, whatever it may be. There'll be different wordings, but in the long run, we're here to help people, stuff like that. The answer would be sort of close, but that's not really what I'm looking for as a police department. I'm looking for our folks to be on one page. And that means, again, from the person who just started yesterday to the almost 30-year veteran, that we're going to be on the same page on how we're going to operate. So the end game that we're looking for is with this, when we come up to ask our officers, what's the police department built on, they'll be able to wrap off these things that we're going to present to you today. And it should make a lot of sense. It's really, it's not rocket science that we're dealing with here. It's police work. And it's a lot of common sense that goes with it. So what I'll do is I'll work through, I didn't give you much intentionally because it is a process. This is a long-term thing. It will not be done overnight what we're trying to do. It is going to take months for us to get this in place. And I imagine in that time, we're going to do a lot of stop and go. Here's the unfortunate part. If we could just cease operations for a couple of weeks, we could get it done. We'd be on page one. We can't. We're answering 400 plus calls a day with something new happening every single day. And it's just impossible to do that. We got a job to do and we're going to do that first. So this is a piece of the puzzle for us as an executive staff. So the first thing that we wanted to do is really figure out how we were built. We have a mission statement at the police department. It's got core values that are underneath it. And when you read it, when you look at it as it's sitting on the walls of our police department, it's very well written. It makes a lot of sense. You read it and you're like, that's good. But we don't own it. And that's the Travis Stroud opinion of this. We have not done a good job through the years of learning, living, and loving this mission statement so it's passed down to all of our people. And I'll say ours because, like I said just a minute ago, I told you I've been here 25 years. I could have been doing this the whole time, but I wasn't. Now I see the mistakes of the past, so we're going to have to start moving on. Our issue with the mission statement is, like I said, none of us owned it. There's not one person left in that police department who helped write that. We haven't passed it from generation to generation to generation. So we've done a little bit of disservice. So we figured now is the time, seize that moment. Let's rewrite our mission statement. Let's get it in line with the city mission statement that's right behind you right now. We looked at that. That was one of the first things that we did. It was one of the first meetings we had with you guys where I was sitting here and Tad Cramp was presenting on the taxi stuff that night. And I read that slogan sitting there behind you. It says, creating the single most livable, safe, and prosperous community in America. And as he's presenting, I'm reading that. And I'm like, that's a pretty good mission statement for a city. But what role do we play in it for a police department? And the key word there is safe. That's our job. We feel like it is our job as police department to live up to that part of the city's mission statement. Now, clearly, if we provide the safety, I think your livability goes up, your prosperity goes up. Just the opposite, though, if we don't provide the safety, I almost guarantee both those go down. And that's not what we want for our city. Again, this is a holistic thing. So we wanted to come up with a mission statement that was much, much, much more in line with what you see right there. And again, I'll read out what I have so far, and this could change tomorrow because we are constantly tweaking this thing. But moving forward, our mission statement is going to be this. Our mission is to make High Point a safe city by developing leaders and employees in crime fighting, community engagement, training, and professional policing. We want it to be very, very simple. We want to think people can understand. While that may seem like a lot of words in there, when we get finished explaining our pillars and our model here in just a second, that should be very easy for our employees to understand what we're trying to accomplish and sort of wrap this off and live it. So I'll move to this. Did you get one of these? You should see, Johnson, you got one? I got a variation of this. A little model is all it is. And I'm going to start at the bottom because even though it's the bottom, it's probably the most important piece of this puzzle. So when you're looking at this little model here, our base, what we're going to build everything off of as it moves forward is our leadership and employee development. I think it has got to start there. If our foundation at the executive level, at the CAT commander's level, at the lieutenant's level, even our civilian employees, their leaders, is not solid, and I'm telling you, everything is going to crumble at some point in time. As long as you don't have any problems, you'll be fine. But that's not the nature of work that we deal with. We deal with problems every single day. So you got to be strong in leadership. But not everybody's going to be wearing bars or something on their collars or things like that. We want to develop every single employee we've got to find their potential. We are looking for long-term employees. This isn't a short-term gig for our folks. We want them to be 30-year career police officers with the city of High Point. I think we're paying them. We're training them. We want them to live and love this city. And I think you get a better product of police service when you have that out of those long-term veterans. I truly believe that. And we're trying to make it so where people want to stay here. Retention is one of our biggest goals inside the police department. We cannot lose officers right now, but we have to find what they're good at. What do they want to do? What their skill set allows them to do, and then help them get there. That's how you develop employees. But that's got to come from leaders. Not just me. I'm tapping my chest when I do that, but it's much bigger than me. It has really very little to do with me, quite honestly. But for all our leaders in the police department, that's really what we're looking to do. That's going to be the base for everything that they're going to present to you in just a minute. Everybody have their little section. But that's what it comes down to. We're looking at a top-down approach. I want our people to, especially our supervisors, our leaders, to believe in this mission statement. When we get finished presenting to the rest of our police department, which we haven't even done yet, the only people who've heard this are our command staff and our supervisors. So starting November the 11th, is my date right? November the 11th, we'll start rolling this out to the rank and file of our police department. The most important piece of our police department will get this model that you're getting now. So we want the belief in that mission statement from top to bottom. We want a servant mindset in our leaders. We really want them to understand this is really not about you. I tell everybody that once you get promoted, you're really done. It's not about you anymore. You got to look to other people. How can we make them better? Ultimately, that's going to make our department better. So we want the servant mindset. We want an active participation in this deal. I don't want people just punching the clock coming to work. I mean, we'll have some of those just by the volume of people that we employ, but I am looking for the ones who are going to go above and beyond, come up with ideas, look at the pillars that we're getting ready to give you, and how can we make these pillars bigger and stronger and better to help hold up our house. So I'm looking for an active participation. That includes our newest employees. We're going to get feedback from them. They can tell you a ton of stuff. You just got to listen. I want to, again, the recognition and that employee development will be key, but that's going to be a work in progress. I want to make every employee that we have a part of this conversation. And that, when I say everyone, I mean everyone. You're going to hear us consistently refer as we move forward to the 307. That's how many employees we have for a staffing sheet at the police department. 262, is that right? 262 sworn positions, and then we have 45 civilian employees for a total of 307. Now, granted, all our positions aren't full right now, so we're not a full 307, but we're still going to be the 307. We're going to operate as one. There's very little room in there for individuals at all. It's about the group, the mission, the city, providing a safe environment for our community and our people. So we want everybody to be involved and be a part of this conversation, including you. We plan to collaborate with you. Your constituents tell you things. We need to listen. You need to tell us. And then how can we adjust our model to help your constituents, who is our community, the ones we serve. But ultimately, the goal is to establish a base with this plan, with this model that can go year after year, generation after generation. Long after all of us are gone, we think we're putting a model in place that can be built on 20 years from now. People that we just hired, maybe leading our department one day, they can build off this. Now, they're going to have to tweak it. They're going to have to constantly assess it. Is this the right model? Do we have the right pillars? Maybe we have to adjust some from here and there. There's going to be a lot of stuff that goes in this, but we want to build something that we can go from year to year. We've survived because we've had great people, but we haven't lived on that mission statement, those core values. We really haven't. They're phenomenal. We could have rolled that thing out, but we wanted something that we owned from this point forward. And I think we'll get that as we start present from here. So what we'll do is I'm going to have them come up one by one, and they'll start to pick off every one of these pillars. So what you have so far is your leadership and employee development. That's our base. And then we're going to have these 4 pillars that we'll discuss very, very briefly. And they're not going to give you much. I've asked them not to give you much because it's still, again, this is a process. It could change. But I think once they get finished explaining what that pillar means, you should go, all right, I see where that's coming from. I can see that as benefit to our police department and to our city. So don't expect too much today. This will be revisited down the road when we've got a little more fine-tuned. Right now, the mold is very big, and we're just sort of taking it and putting it down like this day by day. Okay? Any questions of me? I'll come back up at the end. I'm going to present one of the pillars, and we will take questions. Anyone you have, we will do the best we can to answer. I think we owe that to you and to the community.
I'm sure I will at the end of the presentation.
Okay.
Right now, just stand by.
No problem. All right, what I'll do is we'll start on our first pillar. I'll have Major Kuhn come up. Major Kuhn is over our Major Crimes and Deterrence Division. So to explain that, anything that occurs where a person is the victim of a crime will fall to his division. Okay? And he'll present on our crime fighting pillar.
Good afternoon. I'm Mark Kuhn. I'm the major over the Major Crimes Division. And like Chief Stroud said, it has everything to do with persons crimes or anything, homicides, robberies, sexual assaults, the strategic intelligence units. I'm over the crime lab. I'm over court liaison, street crimes, vice and narcotics. All is under the Major Crimes Division is what I'm under. Anyhow, moving forward, like he said, we're going to talk just real quick on crime fighting. That's what I'm just going to discuss just a couple minutes on where we stand with the crime fighting and what we're doing moving forward on this stuff. And real quick, we are first and foremost a crime fighting organization, period. That's what law enforcement does. We're really good at it. And that's what we specialize in. And that's what we're going to continue to do. And once again, it goes back to that safe on the board behind you. We have to do this to maintain this community is safe. We really do. Some of the things that we want to talk about as we do move forward is we need to get super hyper focused on what we're going to do as a department to move forward on this. And some of the things that we're going to focus primarily on is violent crime and impact crime. I'm going to go through just a couple of things on this, on some of the things we're going to focus on that we've identified as problems in the city with all the crime that's actually going on. We're going to focus on 3 things moving forward, predominantly under crime fighting. One is going to be people. The other one's going to be vehicles. And the other one's going to be firearms or guns. And we just want to give you just a touch base a little bit on those topics right now so you understand where we're coming from. On the people, we're going to focus particularly on the people that are violent offenders and those who are driving the violence in High Point. We have a big problem right now, people driving around that are shooting people, that are shooting out of cars, all that kind of stuff. So we're going to focus on those people is what we need to hyper focus on to make this a safe city. We're going to also focus on the armed and dangerous people, the people that are the shooters, the influenced, the ringleaders, the shot callers, chronic offenders, convicted felons, gang members, and gangs in High Point. Chronic offenders, the impact players, the guys that drive the violent crime, and they're the problem in our community. They typically have a rich history and prior criminal convictions, which leave them vulnerable under the criminal justice system, which means they have exposure, which means they've been in the criminal justice system a long time, and we can also do something about it because they have long records in the criminal history system. The other thing we're going to talk about just real quick is vehicle and cars. We've had a ton of drive-by shootings recently. You've all seen all the press release we've done, all the stuff that has happened. One of our most recent homicides on University and MLK was a drive-by that was just open fire. Over 20 times they shot into a vehicle there. So we actually, this is a serious problem in High Point we have. Of course, it's not just related to High Point, it's all over the Piedmont Tribe, but we had it in High Point. The cars they're highly mobile. They're transporting the shooters, the guns. They have drugs in them in the cars. They're wanted people. So you have the whole gamut with the vehicle that's going on in this thing. And we need to make sure that we're continually do traffic stops where we have reasonable suspicion and probable cause on that. So we understand that too. We really do. The other thing with the vehicles, most of our vehicles that are actually shooting, they're stolen or they're rentals is what's going on. So the good example was the car that was used in the homicide on MLK and University. It was stolen from, I think, on Wendover, near the city limits. And then the next day it was used in a homicide. Then it was found burned down on the south side of High Point. So it was three separate things going on that led to this whole thing. And of course, that car was a stolen car that somebody left running. Real quick, we're going to talk about the guns. And I have some stats here real quick before we go over the guns. Since January, we've had over 51 guns stolen out of vehicle for people who don't lock their cars, which is a crazy number. That is a crazy number. 27 guns we've seized during traffic stops alone since January. And we're over 333 guns for the year seized in High Point.
Of those statistics, this is Councilman Moore. When you take firearms from, do you track the numbers when they have them and see if those guns are registered or concealed owners, or do you follow that steps?
We follow all those steps. We actually have an ATF task force officer. That is their primary job every day. There's an investigation done on every gun that is seized in High Point, period.
So of those 51s, how many of them were in the vehicle of a legal owner?
Yeah, I'm not sure the exact number. I just know that.
Okay, that's a good answer. I was just curious.
Just quite a few of them. I don't know the exact number, but I just know, and most of those that were stolen out of vehicles, that's where people just walk around pulling on door handles and firing open doors, what that's about. And people, so they didn't lock up their car and they had a gun in it, which is, we constantly blast that out. You shouldn't lock your car doors. That's been a big thing for us for the last year. It really has.
Thanks.
Councilman Moore, I dare say, what I would dare say without knowing the stat to throw it out there, I'd say almost every one of those that were taken out of a car and then people actually reported it to us probably were legal gun owners. The ones who shouldn't have it because they're prohibited by law or something like that, they're not calling us to say their gun got stolen. So I'll bet every single one of those is a legal gun owner.
Well, I thought several of those that may have been apprehended came from just a traffic stop.
Well, that's a little different. Look, now the ones stolen out of cars for unlocked vehicles, we think most of those are probably legitimate owners. Now, a lot of the traffic stop guns that we take, yes, you're correct. Okay. Those people should not be in possession of those weapons, or stolen, or they just shouldn't have it by law.
That was kind of where my question was. Of the 51, how many of them? That's why I didn't know it might be that hard to figure that out.
We have that number. I'm sure I'm telling you, we are relentless on the gun stats.
No, I don't doubt it. That's why I thought it might be available.
But we can get it to you because that's impactful. It's a good question, though.
Thanks.
We'll check on that with our intel person and get back with you on that question.
Thank you. Didn't mean to derail you.
Sure.
I'm sorry. Yeah. This is Councilman Johnson, real quick. On the same lines, of the ones that you find in cars, what is the percentage that when you check them and they were obtained illegally? Okay. What is the percentage of people you may know, you may not know, that have, if it was stolen out of my car and I'm legally, it was mine, that I've reported it to the police? Is there a percentage?
I currently don't have a percentage, but if you're a legal gun owner and it was in your car and it was stolen, and then 9 times out of 10, the person that's stealing the gun is probably, it could be possibly a convicted felon or they possess it at that point where they're not allowed to possess it. They're a prohibited person is what we refer to that as. But, We are not taking people's guns. If you sit there and think we're taking people's guns, legal owners' guns, we are not doing any of that. That is not what we're about. I just want to make just clarification on that real quick. The prohibited people with guns is what we're looking for, and we're also talking about felons with guns is predominantly where we're going with this on that. If they're prohibited from having the guns. And with that number over 333, just real quick, we're on record pace for the year right now. If this continues, for seizing the most guns ever by the High Point Police Department. That's really all I have is on just the crime fighting right now, that we're going to be super focused, that the three things are going to be, the right people, the vehicles that are transporting the right people and carrying the guns, and the guns. And that's what we're really going to focus on, try to combat the violent crime in High Point. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is Councilman Hudson. Can I ask a question before you leave?
Marcus is absolutely correct. One of our biggest focuses is going to be on violent crime for the reason of it will drive your community into the ground if you do not get it under control. We see it all over the nation. We just refuse to allow that to be us. We're going to keep combating these issues. And that's how we'll do it, the people, cars, and guns. But on the pillar, if you're looking at a crime fighting, it's much bigger than just violent crime. Crime fighting for us is anything that is enforcement related. That includes property crimes. We're not going to ignore those. We're not going to allow your stuff to be stolen or anything like that. That's going to allow the side of like traffic, even though that may not be a crime like a punishable by going to jail or anything. We're still going to enforce traffic, which we'll talk about at the end with our traffic surge going on. So crime fighting falls to anything that is enforcement related. But we're going to have focuses. You have to focus as a police department. And again, I'll use the impromptu survey. If you went out and took 20 of our citizens today and you said, hey, what does the police department do? There would be a variation of the answer, but they'd say they keep us safe, they protect us, they arrest bad guys. Let's be honest. That's why we were created, to enforce the law. And that's what we plan to do. We will not deviate from that. And that's why we have Major Kuhn go first on the crime fighting, because we are going to be a crime fighting agency. I think our public expects that. I think we owe it to them. The minute we stop doing that, we're in trouble as a community. And we refuse to. We didn't sign up to do, we wanted to be crime fighters, and that's what we're going to do as a police department. So next up, I'll have Major Sellers slide up and behind you to talk about our community engagement.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Petula Sellers, and I'm going to talk about our community pillar. I think this is a very important part of what we do every day. One of the problems with it is us. We haven't let the community or let you all know in the past the things that we have done. I bet if I were to give you a pop quiz right now and say, do you know what PALS stands for? You will probably say, I have no idea. That's our fault. PALS is Police Assisting Little Schools. As you may be aware, or as we all are aware, we have school resource officers in the middle and high schools. We have none in the elementary schools. So we decided to take a stronger approach and identify 2 schools just to do like a pilot program to see how successful we could be. And we adopted, or partnered with is a better word, I guess, Kirkman Park Elementary and Oakview. And what we did, we formed a committee and we decided how can we be the most impactful. And so a couple of things that we decided to do is, like, the first week of school, we're going to welcome our teachers, because we all know they have a very hard and challenging job. So we welcome our teachers. What are we going to do next? We want to welcome the kids, because we do not want children to be afraid of us. And so what do we do for that? We'll be there to welcome them out the school bus. We're there to open the car doors when they get out of cars. We collect supplies for the teachers. We don't want the teachers to have to spend their money. We want them to be able to educate and protect our little ones. And so and not only that, one of the things we decided to do after the first 9 weeks, when they have award ceremonies, we're going to be there to be their cheerleaders. We've done it, and it has been an amazing success. But you all don't know about it, do you? That's what we got to do better, okay? There are so many different things that we do at the police department that you don't know anything about, and we're going to change that. Our officers want to serve. They come to work every day. They want to serve. They don't want to just be seen as the bad officers. They don't want to be seen as bad officers at all, because they're not. They want to do crime fighting. That's what we all signed up for. That's what I signed up for almost 20 years ago. That's what I wanted to do. I want to protect. I want to serve. I am a servant leader, and I would dare to say that most of the officers there, they're going to tell you the exact same thing. And so what we do, there's so many different elements. National Night Out was canceled, right? Well, it wasn't canceled for us. We did cops and community. Community came out. They came out, oh my gosh, in groves, did they not?
Huge numbers, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we know they want to partner with us. Our
Absolutely.
community day. Do you know what our community day is? Are you there with us? If you're not, that's our fault. You need to be there, because you need to see, we changed the whole concept. We focus on children. That is our primary goal that day. We have created a carnival style atmosphere for them, and they have a ball. We have buses pulling up with kids getting off. It is very, very impactful. They enjoy playing soccer with the officers. They enjoy our costume contests. They enjoy seeing us have donut eating contests. They just have a ball. We make it all about the kids. And we do, I got so many. We're partners with Special Olympics. We partner, we have a youth leadership academy in the summer with the SROs. We are getting ready to do something that I am really excited about. We're going to try something different. You know, we canceled our holiday parade, right? We're going to do something with that. So just stay tuned and watch. And it's going to be impactful as well. I'm very confident about that. My most, I guess, excited project, not mine, ours, just kicked off. And it's our Angels in Blue program. Do y'all know what that is? If you don't, yet again, this is what we got to fix. Okay. Angels in Blue is our Christmas program. And it's when we as officers, we identify families that can use some assistance at Christmas. And I'll be honest, most of the families that we get are from our interactions earlier in the year that aren't pleasant. They may be victims, or family members may be a victim of some sort of crime, whether it's homicide, whether it's a fire, it can be, you name it. And so what we do, we come back at Christmas, unbeknownst to the family, we identify one person and we ask that person to partner with us. Don't say anything, help us by being quiet, keeping a little secret. And then we show up at Christmas and we brighten their holiday. We take that expense off of the families. That's something they don't have to worry about, from food to gifts to anything you can think about. Even if they need Christmas decorations, we take care of that as well. Yes, sir.
Question, I guess last week I sent some money to something for Angels in Blue to get like one of each of the t-shirts and sweatshirts. Is that the money from that, the t-shirt sales, that's what supports that program?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that is exactly right. Chief Stroud has allowed us, as you see, I have a pink shirt on for breast cancer, okay, for the month of October, breast cancer awareness. November and December, he has allowed us to have a royal blue shirt on, and that symbolizes Angels in Blue. He's also taken it one step further. He's allowed the male officers to not shave in November. He's altered our grooming standards so they can grow beards, and we can do it again in December. They have to pay for that. And so the funds that go into that pot is what we used to help these families at Christmas.
I got it via email, but is that also available on your website or something so people in the community can go and buy t-shirts or anything like that?
It will be available. I just got an email right before I got here from the person that's in charge of the shirts. He has drafted an email that he wants to send out. I haven't allowed him yet to send it out to the community. I'm allowing him to send it out to our partners. And the reason I'm doing that right now is I got to make sure that we don't go on overload. Right. The officers themselves have ordered, I think in less than a week, over 200 shirts. And we start this in November. So when we get our community partners involved, I'm afraid we may have just that many. Depending on the outcome with that, we may take it one step further. What's significant about this program as well, we have community partners that contact us and say, okay, I work at this doctor's office. We want to do something at Christmas. We want to adopt a family. Can you help us? They understand through our process, the families are screened. They understand a lot of them have come to us through tragedy. So they are understanding that this is definitely a need. We also allow them to come with us when we make deliveries to the day of the deliveries to deliver the gifts. So they can partner with us and we can go out and make the deliveries as well. It's a very complex program, but it works. It's very impactful. There's nothing better than to be out in the community in January or in June and someone says, you all helped my family. You all helped my loved one. Thank you for that. So again, and I can talk about Angels in Blue all day long. The last thing I'm going to say about Angels in Blue, or I'm going to say about the Youth Leadership Academy, or a lot of these programs that we have, whether it's National Night Out, they all start a lot of times with our school resource officers. They build relationships with youth, with people, with parents, with community members. They have such a huge impact. And it's sad to me because a lot of times their purpose is not understood. They do very little enforcement, but they do a whole lot of relationship building. It is very, I guess, a good feeling to be out and you're with an SRO and someone walks up and says, hey, Officer Smith, I remember you when I was in second grade and you did this and you did that. That's the kind of impact that we want to have on our citizens moving forward. Okay, and again, like I said, there's a lot more programs. We're going to do a lot better job of letting you know. I invite you all to be a part of Angels in Blue. Come out with us, deliver the gifts with us. We can get you all the information, but be a part of everything that we do. We're going to let you know more about it. Okay.
Great. Councilman Hudson is remote and has indicated on Zoom that he's got a hand raised. He's still showing mute. Councilman Hudson, can you
Yes, thank you,
unmute if you have a question?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
We need to turn it up a little bit. We can't hear you that well.
Yeah, I had a question for Chief Stroud.
Go ahead.
The handguns that have been seized and stolen out of vehicles, do you know the ratio of handguns to long guns that have been collected?
I think he's asking on the traffic, on our stops, ratio of handguns to long guns.
That's what's my understood.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
The overwhelming majority of what we seize or take is going to be handgun, but we are running into more long guns here and there. We track everything when it comes to guns, trust me. And that includes shell casings when we go out to shooting scenes and stuff like that. And we have seen a pretty significant increase in higher caliber rifle rounds being used in our shooting. So the rifles are out there too, but the majority of what we take is handguns. I don't know the number, but it's got to be upper 80s to 90s is handguns, small number of rifles. Does that help you?
It does. Thank you. I was reading reports about some of the recent activities and noticing long guns were being used now. So it's
correct.
surprising that the heavier caliber is.
Yeah, it is. It's sort of shocking. It's a little disturbing for us too. I mean, the same rifles that I have in the trunk of my vehicle right now are being used in the street. So, one thing before I turn over to Major Gamble, on our community engagement side of us, this is sort of a hidden gem for us. We have been doing this forever. We're just terrible at promoting it. And we're not doing it for credit. That's not the case. But there are a lot of benefits that our city can get. I mean, I look at this as an early intervention strategy to push kids away from the activity you see in the street and into positive stuff. So we're really going to seize the moment on this, but it's going to have to be bigger than us. I mean, my fear of the community engagement side, our pillar, is that it can become so big that we are no longer doing our job that we're supposed to be doing. Does that make sense? We got to still crime fight too, because we could do community engagement every single day, all day long. So we're looking for some community partners to get in there with us. I mean, I think, you guys showing up to our National Night Out was big. It really was. And I told you in that email, it did not go unnoticed. Our people, our officers saw that. They were like, oh, hey, look at this. That's what we're going to need as a city moving forward. If we're going to be one and we're going to operate as one, that's the kind of stuff we're going to have to see in there. So there'll be plenty of opportunities down the road, but this is a good thing for us as a police department and as a city. I see a lot of positives coming out from the community engagement side of it. But again, my fear is it could get too big after a while. We've got to make sure we pull it in. We're not going to be able to do everything, but we're going to be able to do these 20 things there during the year. That's what we're looking at. Next up, I'll have Major Gamble come up. He runs our field ops, or he will run our field ops south section when Ken Steele retires here in about a month and something, and he'll go over the training side, the training pillar.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having us. As Chief said, I am Anthony Gamble. And just talked about training. You can't say enough about training. Training is important. Training makes the individual officer better. Training makes our agency better. Training makes our city safe. It gives our officers confidence to make better decisions. And so from the day they step at our police department, we train. And they train all the way until we retire. So training is our DNA. It's a part of us. The problem with training is we have so much training out there and we can train on every little thing. We have to get the most bang for our buck when we train on our training days. So we have to pick and choose what's relevant and what's current. And so we will always be relevant and current on our training and what we train on. Just to give you just a little bit of information about training. They go to BLET, that's a 3-month school, and then they come to us. Before they even get in the car with the field training officer, they spend another month learning how we do things here at High Point. And then they go to a 16-week field training program where they're with a veteran officer who is trained to be a field training officer, where they're evaluated every minute of the day. But training doesn't stop once they graduate field training. Just like I said, we train from the time we hired till we retire. The state requires us to train 24 hours a year. That's it, 24 hours. An average High Point officer trains 70 hours a year versus the 24 mandate hours. And we do this all staying within budget. I think that's key. And we're going to continue to train. We're going to always train. We train during the pandemic. We train in the rain. We train in the snow. We train at night. We're going to train. Training just makes our city safer for us and for the people who come to our city, who lives in our city. And that's why training has to be a pillar. It's going to always be a pillar. It's been a pillar since I've been here 20 years. Everyone knows we're going to train every other month. Any questions about training?
I just want to say, I think one thing I've noticed about our police department that is a very good positive. I spent 13 years in the Marine Corps. I know you've got your proactive training that you want to do prior to something going wrong, and then your retroactive training when you see something that could have been done better. But you guys are doing a great job of making sure, one, their officers train up on the front side. And then in my short time on council, when we've seen areas that could be improved, within 48 hours almost, you guys are having a training to make sure that's corrected and done better. And so you guys do a great job with that.
Yeah, I think our agency is very proactive on training. It didn't start with me or Chief. I train, we are very proactive. We're always looking at across the country, what's happening there? How can we get better? Every training day, our goal is to be better when we come out of that 10.5-hour training day.
Last question on training. Have you guys been training to beat the fire department next Friday?
Practice at 6:30. That's the worst softball you've ever seen.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
I always have something, Travis Stroud again, always have something to say. I apologize. But on our training side, you make up a couple of great points. We really have to tailor down and focus on what we're going to train. That's why, Anthro, they are constantly looking ahead. We're going to train on these topics every year. We're going to hit these topics biannually. I mean, I don't know, every 3 years, I don't know. We can't do everything. The list is like a Santa Claus list of things that we would have to train on to be for everything people expect us to do. It doesn't work like that. We run out of time. But we do want to put our officers in situations like you said. We want reality-based training. It needs to be hands-on, upfront, and stressful. We want to induce stress in a training environment where if we're going to make mistakes, that's the time to do it. So it's sort of like a test run. The first time you see it is in training. We can make mistakes, we can learn, we can adjust. So when it happens in the street, we have a little less stress, a little less, panic that goes into our officers. Now look across the nation, and I love cops. I will not lie to you. You know where I stand on police officers. I love them. I think it's the greatest profession ever, aside from the military. But I will tell you, I look across the nation and I see cops that are doing things that maybe they're making mistakes, and I see a lack of training in a lot of those. Do we not? It is. I'm like, that wouldn't happen here. I look, even take Wisconsin, I look at that situation. I'm like, that guy never even gets back to the car with us. We don't even have a gun out there. And you avoid those situations. But I think you have to put your officers in those positions first to where you learn. There's a true learning curve that comes with it. But you are also right. There's a good portion of my day that is spent scouring the news. Even as the interim chief of police, I am looking at what police departments are doing, watching video after video after video. And we're trying to pull from those, because that is like a free training rep for us to say, oh, that went really good. We should replicate this, or that didn't go so well. Let's make sure we're not doing that. So I think every agency needs to be doing that, but we are going to. But training is going to be a big piece of us. And I'm going to tell you, they all know it. I expect every one of our police officers to train just like the other one. That includes me. I am not exempt from any training session that we have mandated, from the chief of police to the newest kid we hire tomorrow. We will all train on the same level. Now, I may not be able to perform like some of those young guys, but I'll get in there and we'll all do it. So, and lastly, I'll stay up here for this one. The last pillar we want to really concentrate on is our policy. It's a big piece for us. This is also the easiest one to present, probably the shortest one. Our policies are solid. They have been solid for years. I love what we have in there and the things that we have taking place. We all heard of the 8 can't wait. It's one of the biggies. Well, I tell everybody, we were 8 can't wait before that was a thing. We had every one of those pieces in our policy. We would tweak some wording here and there to match what best practice says out there by model policies, but we already had these things in there. But policy is a huge thing for us. That's what you have to lean on when things come down. I tell everybody that if we have a critical incident happen tonight, something bad happens inside the city and the spotlight is on High Point and the High Point Police Department, the two first areas that we're going to be attacked, not physically, but attacked from like the media and everything else, are going to be your training and your policy. They're going to ask how your people are trained and what does your policy say? Are they following the rules? So we're going to be solid on both of those. So I would want you to have we have 64 general orders. I'm not about to throw those in front of you. That's 64 general orders. We have an SOP for every unit that we have, meaning a canine, a TAC team, the honor guard. It doesn't matter what it is, they have an SOP. So we have tons of rules and regulations that we are expected to follow. But these have been put in place through years of learning. Okay, we got to do better, best practice that goes in there. So again, policy to me is the easiest one, but it definitely needs to be a pillar. This is something that you need to stand on. If nothing else existed, you need to have good policies for sure. So ultimately, as you're looking at that model, those 4 pillars, and I think there's room for growth in there. Maybe we're missing something. Maybe we're missing a 5th pillar, one that goes right up in the middle to hold everything up. That's why it's a work in progress. That's why it's a process that we'll keep examining. But ultimately, as you see at the top, it says High Point Police Department. That's not just a label. No, that is literally holding the 307 up, those pillars and that base right there. And ultimately, it's coming down to a city. Because I do believe that the police department is the face of the city. If things, like I said in the beginning, if things can go sideways tonight and put the limelight on it, it's probably us that does it. So we want to make sure we're squared away. But I felt like we owed this to you as our city council, especially the Public Safety Committee, for the way we're trying to move forward. And we all understand we're under the operating procedure that we understand. I'm under an interim tag. We may have a brand new chief of police here in several months with a different mindset, but we felt like we refused to stand pat during this time of the interim term. And not do anything. We've got to keep pushing forward as a police department. We feel like the plan is solid enough and smart enough and common sense enough and best practice enough that even with a brand new chief from anywhere, they should look at it and go, all right, this looks good. Let's keep going with it. Because we're not about to slack off for our citizens now. They deserve better, and we plan on giving it to them. Any questions? I know that's fast and furious and a lot of not detailed information, but we felt like you needed to know.
Major Sales mentioned something, about the fact that almost everybody on council was at that National Night Out, helping out, hanging out with the community or whatever. And with everything that we see, like on a national level, I guess, and I know quite a few of the officers, but do you feel within the department that morale is fairly high? Do you feel like they have the full support of mayor and council? I mean, that doesn't seem like that's a problem here.
Nope. I agree. I do. And immediately after being inserted as the interim, timing was great because we started an in-service training session. I didn't want to miss a chance to get in front of all of our troops. So I visited every one of our training sessions to touch everybody. And that includes our civilian employees. We had them come in. And part of that presentation was I wanted to tell them that, we are supported by city council. I don't have any issues with city council. And I cannot say that for a lot of other agencies. I think there's a lot of clashes that go on, whether it be necessary or unnecessary. I have no idea. I'm not in that business. All I can tell you is what I see from you guys. And I think we've had support. You hear the defund the police thing. I said, we haven't heard that one time from any member of our city council. I tell them all our budget cuts are strictly related to the lack of tax revenue coming in from COVID. It's as simple as that. That wasn't an intentional thing. It just happened and we got to deal with it. But no, support from you guys has been through the roof, in my opinion. You've always been receptive. You email me, we talk. You've helped me on several different occasions on stuff too. And I think that's the way this wheel has got to work. We're going to have to help each other as one city to help that statement up there and let us do the safe part. So no, we have no issues. I don't think our troops have any issues with you and stuff like that. As far as morale goes, I can't really speak for that. Maybe the majors can a little more. I think we're in good shape right now. I mean, obviously there's a lot going on, and the temperature across the country, I'm sure, has people a little bit leery to do their job and things like that. But no, with inside the police department, I think we're rolling pretty good. But I will tell you this, you got a phenomenal group of officers. That they really are. I mean, we do not hire, to me, I tell everybody, if you're sitting in the room where our training sessions we're speaking, that speaks highly of you because you had to make the cut to get here, because we do not just take anybody. And we're short. I mean, you think we want to fill the seats, right? No, if you don't if you're not made of our cloth that we need you to be at in the caliber, we don't want you. And that's just as brass tacks as it can be. We will work short before we let someone come in with lower standards. That's all there is to it. But all those people that you have working have met that standard. They're well trained. They're well versed in policy. So you're getting a high quality police department. My caution is, I know what I'm going to say, they can leave tomorrow. Everybody's hiring. So we have to make our agency where you want to stay. I want to be in High Point. And I do think, to Lynn, when you have support of city council, that's another reason to stay.
Good.
So we appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Any other questions about the model? And that we'll probably represent on this later once we get it locked down a little more.
Well, I think you do a great job, all four of you. Thank you for being here. This is Councilman Moore. But obviously in the line of work you do, from my perspective, you can only be so rigid. You have to be flexible. You have to be fluid. You have to have the ability to change, adapt, and go within that model. But I've always thought High Point's had a fair and a solid police department, and we look forward to partnering with you on your community engagement side, trying to make that more understood for those out there that don't understand it yet.
Yeah, and we appreciate that. But we'll tell you, as good as our police department is, our community is just as good. They really are. We got 115,000 people, and I don't even want to put a number on it because it's through the roof. They're awesome. We may have a violation here or there, but that's not the end of the world. That's going to happen. But for the most part, we have phenomenal community members. They work with us. They don't work against us. I can tell you that. Now, there's small pockets, like Major Kuhn said. They need to go to jail. Let's be honest. They're that bad. The ones that we can divert from the system, we'll divert.
And don't answer this if you don't want to.
Sure.
But is our court system got your back?
Our back?
Yeah.
I think we could probably do better. You asked me a question. I think it's my job to be honest with you when you ask. I'm not going to shy away from any questions. You know me for a long time.
Yep.
But I think from a holistic, I keep using that word, the criminal justice system is much bigger than the enforcement side of it. You got the prosecution side and everything that goes beyond it. Now they're inundated too. I will give them a little bit of leeway on that. They are tons of stuff going on over there, and it's hard to keep up. I get those things. But yes, we have seen some frustration through the process that once we do the enforcement side of it, we see the same offenders back out doing the same crimes. There's got to be a deterrence along the line somewhere. And that can be frustrating, but I don't think it's an intentional act on their behalf. I do not. I think they got their hands pretty darn busy as well. But yes, it
Well,
can
it
be
would be
frustrating.
nice to see, because you hear of that, and I don't know it. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not, but it would be nice if it could be more efficient, so you don't have to replay the same thing over and over and over again. And I don't know where that answer comes. I don't know if that comes from a council reaching out to a commissioner that goes to the, I don't know, but it may be something we should look into.
Well, obviously, there has to be a deterrence for your activity. I mean, there really does, and it has to impact you in some way. I'm gonna look at every single one of us when we grew up. I knew as a kid, when I made a mistake, it was going to be dealt with by my mom, my dad, my grandmother, my grandfather, whoever, and it was impactful to me. That was a deterrent to, I'm not doing that again. Right. I'm not sure we have that in the system right now. We see so many repeat offenders that I'm like, well, something's not working. Right. I mean, these are some pretty impactful crimes that people have on the records. I presented to you before, we have, and you've seen some of the charges we put on people and they're out running around. That shouldn't happen.
Right. Thanks.
Yes, sir. Thank you, guys.
Hey, Ryan, real quick. Wesley's hand is still showing up. Is there a way we can clear that out just so I know he doesn't still have a question? Or is that something Wesley needs to do?
This is Councilman Johnson. Again, thank you for each of you for coming. We're excited about the community events and the future community events. Also, to let the chief interim know that we support you and the team 100%.
And I know that. I do. Okay. I mean, I will speak that to the masses right now. I have no issues with the council. You've actually been wonderful, quite frankly. So. Great.
You talked about your admiration for the military and the policemen, but you didn't say anything at all about an elected official. So don't answer that question, Chief.
Okay, I'll refrain.
He forgot to mention it.
Councilman Jones, did you want us to hit our traffic surge?
Yes, I do. Do we have any other questions for the chief regarding the strategic plan? All right, well, our next item on the agenda is 2020-405. It's a presentation of the High Point Police Department new traffic safety initiative.
Okay. Again, Travis Stroud again, and I'll be very brief on this, so I may have to turn it over to Major Seller. She's more in tune with the actual program than I am in the actual details. But I will tell you this, and I'll be blunt about it. The driving inside the city is awful. That's about as easy as I can put it. There's other colorful words I can use, but we'll just use awful. And it's been this way for a while. Clearly, our numbers are disturbing. If you look at the course of the 2020 year, we've had 14 traffic fatalities. Many of those were involving very, very, very high speeds, aggressive driving, among other things, lack of restraint. But my challenge is this, and this is the litmus test that you can even take yourself. It doesn't matter who you are. If you went to any of our intersections, just sat there for 30 minutes and watched people drive, and you might not even know what all the violations are, I bet you could just tick off this. Look at this. Oh my gosh, I can't believe they just did that. They ran that red light. They about ran into the back of that car in front of them. You could do it all day long. We recognize that as a police department. We say, we need to do something about this. Plus, there's quite a few citizen complaints. I know you probably get them. I know I get them. My phone rings off the hook on citizen complaints regarding driving. And we just said it's time to sort of snap back on this. And the idea behind the surge is this. We want drivers to reset your driving. I think we've gotten away from that defensive driving side and got into more of the aggressive side, and some of the violations we see, safe movement violations, following too closely. That's how you avoid accidents, by the way, is just give you a little bit of self-distance and reaction time. The speeding, the lack of your restraints, plus all the non-moving violations that we see, false tags, no insurance, all kinds of stuff. You name it, we see it every single day. But we felt like it was time to sort of snap back into this and give our citizens a chance to reset their driving. Now, this campaign that we're in right now, it'll be a multi-week process, a multi-step process, hitting some of our major thoroughfares. And we announce where those are. We're not trying to be secretive about it. We'll tell you, the data is going to tell us where to go. We are a very data-driven agency. We look at the numbers, say this is where our high accident intersections are, and this is where we get most of our complaints. We're going to work there. I told you in the email I sent to you about it, we're going to write some tickets in this. Some people think it's not a ticket writing campaign. Well, it's not. That's not our goal. We're going to write some tickets. Some of the violations are so bad, we can't avoid those. But we are looking for the chance to give out plenty of warnings too, and a little chance to say, listen, this is your chance, reset your driving, sort of keep you back to where you should be. I mean, 14 fatalities is way too many, and it should be many more than that. We have gotten close on some where people have amazingly survived these accidents. The point of this is driving affects everyone inside our city. We just said 115,000 people, and look at our roads, they're busy. This is impactful. That's why we sort of have to bring this in control. It's again, if you look up there on that slogan, this is the safe part of it. We want our people to be safe. Motor vehicle collision is just as impactful as a shooting to us. It really is. I mean, we got more motor vehicle deaths this year than we do homicides. So yes, we need to concentrate on it. Major Sellers, do you have anything to throw in? She helped develop the plan. We all recognize this was a problem. So her and Lieutenant Abernathy, who's of our traffic unit, helped develop the plan.
I don't have all my notes with me here, but I will say the first day was very, very impactful. Within 2 hours, our officers have stopped, oh my gosh, I want to say nearly 100 cars. And they wrote almost half warning tickets as they did citations. But the sad part in that is they could have probably stopped another 100. Unfortunately, they couldn't get turned around safely to get behind these vehicles. And so clearly there is a problem, and we want to address that. One of the things that started this, we all identified that we have problems with driving. But if you show up on a scene and you pull out an 18-year-old and a 19-year-old from a vehicle and you have to tell their parents they're not coming home, I think what we fail to realize is the impact that has on the entire community, not just that family, but even our officers. And they're tired of doing this and seeing this. So we have to make a change. So I'm kind of excited about seeing the positive change from this. The first phase is going to be 2 weeks. We're going to stop. We're going to reassess. We're going to look at our numbers. We want to re-educate. And as Chief says, we're hitting the reset button. If it's successful, like I think it's probably going to be, we're going to start back over again in November, probably near the holidays. And then we'll do the same thing in Christmas near the holidays. And I apologize, I didn't bring my stats with me, but I've sent Lieutenant Abernathy a quick message, hoping he's near his computer. And if I can get those numbers, I'll share them before we leave. Okay.
How much impact is, this Councilman Jones, how much impact is, so I'm up there, Ward 5, Johnson Street, Ski Club, and I'm getting messages of people, with the road construction, all the stuff going on in the ski club and everything. And then I guess also I'm on East Chester, which is out of my district, but are we seeing, an increase in traffic accidents and in violations in those specific areas? Because people are saying this is dangerous, but does the data back that up?
The data does back that up.
Okay.
It clearly backs that up. We have, and actually he just sent me the numbers. I'm sorry. It does back that up. Okay. And one of the things that I think from my perspective that's kind of scary for me is it used to be you can see a police car and people slow down. Mm-hmm. And I think they still do that when they see a marked car. But I think I was given an example about me today at lunch and some driving that was aggressive on South Main Street, clearly endangering the lives of others. And so that's what we have to change. We have to slow down. We have to stop being so aggressive when we're driving. One out of the 14 fatalities, 10 of the 14 were at speeds over 100 miles an hour in the city. We can't have that. I actually have some stats here. Okay, day one was Monday. 74 violations were observed that resulted in 33 written warnings and 41 citations. 40 were for speeding and 34 were for other violations, including some drug-related offenses. And that was just the morning portion. That was from 7:30 to 10:30. Okay, then we did it again at 3:30 to 6:30. We had 31 violations that resulted in 18 warning tickets and 13 citations. 16 were for speeding and 15 were for other violations. And then from 9 p.m. to 11:30, we had 16 violations, which resulted in 4 written warnings and 12 citations. 14 were for speeding and 2 were for other violations. So clearly speeding is a factor. Aggressive driving, that's what it is. Okay, and that was just from Monday.
Wow.
Okay.
And less of a question, more of a statement. I actually corrected somebody earlier today, bless her heart, I don't think she meant anything by it, but when it comes to social media and Nextdoor and Facebook, if you're hearing this, please don't post that our officers are pulling people over at a certain spot. We're begging you to come out and stop the speeders and aggressive drivers in these areas. Then all of a sudden people going, hey, watch out, they're up there. Like,
Yeah.
that's counterproductive to our officers.
It
Like,
really is.
yeah.
You will be surprised at the number of calls that the chief's office handles or a number of complaints from people that said, help us, we have speeders in our neighborhood. Lieutenant Abernathy gets these calls every single day. And these are our citizens that are asking for help. And so that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
But it's also a very, even with those calls they make, hey, don't come through. It's a very simple process. You can come through there, just follow the law.
Right.
Slow down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Be safe. You can come through all day long and we're not going to stop you. We have to have reasonable suspicion or probable cause to stop those cars. That's it. We're not going to stop them for anything else. We will not venture down that line at all. And our rule is hard and steadfast inside the city. So my thing with that is you can do it all day. Come on, just follow the law. You'll be good to go. I don't know how many cars we didn't stop today because they were following the law. So but it is, this is all about making us a little bit safer. We'll see how it pans out after the first 2 weeks, then go from there.
Right.
Any other questions on that? Any other questions for us while we're here as a police department? I know we've taken a pretty good amount of time. We're at 5:04.
Well, no, this has been one of the more productive meetings of the Public Safety Committee we've had in a while. And I think a lot of people in the city are concerned about crime and things that they've seen happen. And you guys are on it. You've got a plan, and we're excited to see everything you're doing to roll out. I know the speeding and some of those things on point 2 have been addressed a lot in my area of town. So hopefully we'll be able to cut that down, Waterview, Johnson Street,
Yes.
some of those stuff that we see a lot. But thanks for all you guys officers. Tell all the officers that, you know, we do echo what Councilman Johnson said, that they do have our support. And they do serve a city that has elected officials and mayor and staff and city management, everything, that we support you guys. Thank you for everything you
We
do.
appreciate that. Thank you. All right.
Any other things, anything else from any other members of council? Wesley, if you're still there, do you have anything else? If not, then we are adjourned.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
I've got one question for you, Chief Stroud, before you leave.
Please.
Appreciate you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Mike.